Ya fue un error. Hola, ¿qué tal tú? ¿Cómo estás? Cuando empieza la radio, porque ya yo me prendí. Por eso estoy aquí. La radio empieza a las 5:30. Vayan a escuchar. Hoy que empieza pronto, baby. Mucho paso el tiempo, no la he dudado. Yo me di cuenta que la info radio solo me hace estar re feliz. Que no es lo mismo que Radio AFC. Bueno, 5 minutos.
Nos esperamos a las 5:30 en el live de Instagram y en el link.
Reboot after a couple of years. We've done this podcast for many years before the pandemic, and now we're back at it. And in this special episode, we have a special guest from the US who we will present her in a minute. First, let me present myself. My name is Diego. I am one of the development and volunteer coordinators. We're quite a big crew here in YFU Argentina. And today I'm with two of my co-hosts. Clary, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Clara. How can I tell about me? I was an exchange student in 2020, and since that, I became a volunteer, a super active one. I really, really enjoy being part of this YFU family, and I'm super happy to be here with you.
And then?
Hello, everybody. I'm Fernando. I'm 24 years old. I'm also the coordinator of volunteer institutional development with also Diego and Clary.
And today we're joined by Jamie. Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Hola.
Hola.
Bien.
Bien, bien. Okay, so we're going to get into you in a minute. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on lately in YFU Argentina this last week. Clary, what has happened or what is going to happen this weekend here in Buenos Aires?
Okay, this weekend we are going to have the pre-departure orientation from all the Argentina students that are going to travel this year to different countries. This year we have so many different countries.
Yes, and that's why we have two students right here who are going to take part of the pre-departure orientation, Shago and Paz, and we're going to get to know them in a bit. So thank you guys for joining us. Gracias por venir, chicos. And then also our interns have been around a little bit. Well, Jamie has been in Buenos Aires this week. Jamie, how was this week here in Buenos Aires after traveling so much?
It was lovely to come back to Buenos Aires, and I enjoy meeting up with the office staff again. And we've had some adventures this week, going out and seeing the city and doing some things. So it's been good.
So the two students we have here, they're not just regular students. They're both scholarship winners. And this week, one of the news we have is that our current scholarship, the Julia Horn Scholarship, was extended, and so you can all still apply until the 16th of July, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about the scholarships later with Shago and Paz as well. And then our other interns, we have Cecilia right now from Mexico. She's in Cutralco at the moment, traveling tomorrow to Bariloche. So if anyone from Cutralco or Bariloche is listening to us, know that you can still meet up with Ceci. And then we have Stepanka, who is in Ituzaingó, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and today actually she will go to Puerto Rico, Misiones. She will stay there for like a couple of days, and then she will go also to Oberá, Misiones to meet the volunteers and also to start preparing something with the delegation, because they will participate again in the Immigrational Fest. So yeah.
The National Fest of Immigrants.
Immigrants,
yes.
yeah.
La Fiesta Nacional de Inmigrante. Yeah. So today we want to this special episode in English because we have our guest Jamie, who is our intern from the US. If I'm not mistaken, she's our first intern from the US. And she's maybe also our first senior intern. So it's a very special experience for us, I suppose for you as well. So we want to get to know you a little bit more, not only us, but for everybody who's listening, Jamie. So could you please present yourself a little bit first?
So, my name is Jamie, and I've lived in Ohio for most of my life, and I've been a member of Youth for Understanding in the U.S. since 1998. I started hosting. My first student was from Germany, and then I signed up as a volunteer in 1999 because the organization just felt right, and I wanted to be part of that. And so I was a volunteer from 1999 until 2010, and then I was hired on as staff. So I've actually been a community manager, field director, staff person for 15 years until leaving the staff role earlier this year. And when I leave South America, I will be moving to Washington State instead of Ohio, and I really look forward to helping Washington State start building a YFU community like we had in Ohio.
Nice. So, 1999, I think I'm the only one here who was born before that.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Yeah. That explains why some of the delegations call me Abuelita.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you said you've lived in Ohio for most of your life, but where are you from?
Northern Ohio.
Northern Ohio.
Northern Ohio. Anybody that's listening, there's Disney World has roller coasters, but there's a place in Ohio on the lake that has more roller coasters than any place on the planet. And
Working ones or?
Oh yeah, Cedar Point. Cedar Point is a huge. They call it the roller coast because it's on the water line, and there's so many roller coasters. So when people ask me where I'm from, if they know anything about Ohio, I just say Cedar Point, and they know where that's at.
So will you identify as a Midwestern?
It drives me crazy that they think Ohio is Midwestern because we're still so far east. It's just that we're not part of that big population of all those smaller states. So I guess I'm Midwestern. I just don't think I'm West enough to be Midwestern.
Right.
So.
I don't know. I mean, in my experience, you have like this typical politeness of Midwesterns.
We're very. I think that most of the United States is small town, and that's sometimes when the students come to the States from different places, they come to small towns and they seem disappointed that they're not in New York or Miami or California because all they see on the movies and the TV shows is the big city. But in the United States, like most other places, the majority of the population lives in smaller communities. And so I think that we do have a tendency, I think most of us like to be neighbors, and we like to be friendly, and we try to be welcoming.
So you said you joined YFU in 1999. How did that happen?
One of my very few regrets with YFU is that I don't know how it came to me. I don't know if I heard it on the radio. I don't know if I read it in the newspaper. Back then, they were actually still running television commercials, so maybe I saw it on the TV. I don't know how it came to me, but it's quite a story. It took me more than 2 years to be able to host because of just silly little things. And so when we hosted, I made sure that I hosted as soon as I possibly could. We were an early placement. Our student knew where she was coming in March, and so we had a lot of time to communicate with her before she came, and it really helped, I think, make us look forward to the experience.
So could you walk us through your YFU career again a little bit more in detail? You hosted in 99, I mean, you started in 99, then you hosted in 2001, and
No,
then?
I hosted in 1998.
Okay.
I started trying to host in 96, and I couldn't, and then 97 I couldn't, and it was a school thing, and it was a simple thing, and I'll say this in case somebody else, maybe it benefits you. The first time I decided, I don't know where the idea came from, but I called my high school, and I said, I want to host an exchange student. And they said, well, we only take 2 per year, and we already have 2 coming for next year. And I said, oh, okay. And I hung up the phone. And the next year I called again, and I said, I want to host an exchange student for next year. And they said, well, we already have 2 for next year. And I said, oh, okay. And I hung up the phone. And then the third year, I wrote it on January 3rd on my calendar. So I called as soon as the school went back from winter break. I called the school and I said, I want to host an exchange student for next year. And they said, well, we already have one. And I said, well, by golly, I get the other one. So they said, sure. But then I didn't know what else to do. And so they said, well, there are these people here in town. They do it all the time. Call them. And they happen to be YFU. So I literally just fell in to the YFU network. But then that family that I called, they had planned on being that second spot. And so what I found out that year, they said, oh, don't worry. They called the school board and said, hey, we're going to have 3. And the school board said, sure. So I could have hosted those other 2 years if I had just known to ask the right questions. So if there's ever something like that that seems to be in the way, just make sure you're asking all the right questions and don't give up so easily. So that's how I hosted the first time. That's why it took me 3 years.
By the way, I forgot to mention that we are live on Instagram, we're live on YouTube, so you can leave your questions there, your comments, your messages to Jamie. Estamos en vivo en Instagram y en YouTube, nos pueden dejar sus comentarios y Clary y Fer los van a ir leyendo. Do we have any?
already some comments.
Yeah.
Anto Casta say love Jamie. Ifu Catamarca, te amamos Jamie. Anyago, gran presentación de Catamarca. Enzo pone, les amo a todos, saludos a Paz y a Yago, mis pollos. Estepaniuk Matías pone saludos a todos. Thank you everyone, thank you for watching.
Yes, we have some also on YouTube. Gustavo said hello. Muy pro todo. Also, Javier Araya said hello, my dear Jamie. And also, let me... Militempo Temporetti salta con vos Paz. Y Betty dice Beatriz Gavilán, te amamos Paz. Saludos a Yago.
Acá también mandan saludos desde la Patagonia.
Everybody's got their fan club joining in.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so you hosted then, and then what happened?
So when I hosted, the only volunteer nearby was 40 minutes away. And so she was trying to organize things for people that were pretty far from her. And I just simply wanted to be helpful. I wanted to help the program be more smooth. I wanted to help all of us host families be able to have more activities together. So that's when I signed up as a volunteer, was simply because they needed more manpower. And very, very quickly, as a volunteer, I became comfortable asking people to host and sharing that with people because we had simply had such a great experience the first time, and I wanted other people to have that. So I became very involved. Clara said, a very active volunteer right from the beginning, and my YFU volunteering paid off quickly for me in experience. In 2001, it was the 50-year anniversary for YFU USA and YFU Germany, and I earned a trip to Hamburg for the 50th anniversary because of the number of placements that I had helped make. And just every single year after that, I was one of the top placers. I recruited a lot of volunteers. I opened up a lot of schools, and it just became a whole part of my identity, a part of my life to be with YFU. So I never stopped talking about it. I talk to people on the bus. I talk to people in the grocery store. It's all the time.
How many students did you place?
So I tried to run a list yesterday. I actually logged into my system in the USA and I tried to run a list. And there's no way I can't find a number for how many did I place as a volunteer. But I know that the one year in probably 2007 or so, there were 20-some families the previous year in the whole area, and then I had grown the volunteer base to the point where we had 40 families in that same area, just in 3 or 4 counties in Ohio, because our orientation space we tried to have the same orientation the second year, and it ran too long, and we didn't have enough space, and we ran out of food because we had doubled the number. So I know that typically as a volunteer, I placed anywhere from 12 to 20 students myself.
Wow.
As a volunteer.
As a volunteer.
And then you started working as an area rep.
No, well,
As a regional.
as a volunteer, we always just considered ourselves area reps. So
yeah.
it was kind of the same thing.
But then you started being was this already when you were like a regional director, or how do you call it?
Well, I took the staff position in 2010 as a field director.
Field director.
And
yeah.
so
Sorry.
my role, my responsibility has almost always been the state of Ohio. But when I first started, I only had the top 55 counties. There's 88 counties in the state, and I had the top 55 counties in Ohio. But then people would come and go from the southern end. So some years I would have the whole state. Some years I would have Ohio and West Virginia. Some years I would have Ohio, West Virginia, and a little bit of Kentucky. There were always times when I was covering, like I made placements in, I had the DC area one year that I was helping to cover and make placements and do all of the work in DC, but I was always based out of my home office in Ohio. But Ohio is like my grounds.
And what was the largest year of placements you had?
2017, I did check myself on that. 2017, I placed 83 students
83 students.
in Ohio.
Wow.
In
Wow.
Ohio, yeah.
How was that year?
It was great. It was great. My first year as a volunteer, as an area rep, I had 12 kids assigned to me. And again, it was because there just weren't a lot of volunteers. The second year, I had 22 students assigned to me in 8 counties. So I was like all over the place doing the interviews. A lot of the placements came from the national office, but I went and did the interviews and then did the support through the year. And it was exhausting. It was just exhausting to have that many. And so that was the year that I said, okay, I have to bring on more people. And so I very actively started approaching the host families, the previous host families, people in the schools, going out and doing table events, specifically for volunteers. If I found host families, great, but I needed volunteers to help me do that work and do those networks. And so in that 2017 year, we had 83 placements in Ohio, and I had more than 100 volunteers in the state that were helping with that too.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
And in all these years as a volunteer, field director, what were your biggest challenges?
Well, I think the challenge is there are people out there that just they can't see it. They can't see how much fun it is, and they can't see that it's not, it's just not as much work as I think some people get it in their heads. So I think the most challenging thing is to find the right people. But then when you do find the right people, it just comes together so beautifully. So the challenge is finding the families. The challenge is, having the schools, fighting against sometimes the school bureaucracy of, there's a school up near Cleveland. They have 1,200 students in the high school. It's a big school for us, and they take one exchange student a year, and it's a 4-month process to get that one kid approved. So you have schools like that, and then you have a school like my school, which had 650 students and would take up to 8 exchange students. So sometimes the hardship is you find a family, you don't have the school. You have a school that's willing to take 5 kids, you don't have any families. So putting the pieces together.
And what about like one particular case or challenge that you had, like not in general, but something, that was really...
I feel really, really good. And if anybody from Ohio is listening, you know this. Dayton Public Schools. They had stopped taking all exchange students right before COVID, actually. They just shut the whole district down, and Dayton Public School is a big multiple city school municipality. And it took me more than 2 years. And Siobhan, if you're listening, Siobhan is a host mom and volunteer in the Dayton area. And I worked 2.5 years to open that school specifically so that she could host. And she's now hosting her second student. The first student had to go to a very expensive private school because the Dayton wasn't open. But this student was able to go to one of the public schools, and she's just had a wonderful time. And I know that I made that happen because I finally broke through all of the bureaucracy at Dayton and got them opened up. So,
what will be like a tip on how to break the bureaucracy for those listening?
keep asking, who should I be speaking to?
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you've got the gatekeeper who they think they have the authority to say no, or they think that they know the reasons to say no. But if you can talk to enough people, there's somebody in that district that studied abroad in college, that maybe their family hosted. They're the person that's going to help you find the right people to unlock those doors. Yeah. And the conversation is always, this is a benefit to your kids. Like, this is a benefit to your district and your school. When we bring these students in, I always make sure that every school has a list of ways that they can utilize the exchange students in those new communities. Like, the kids aren't just there to have their own good time. They're there to be part of their new community.
So your experience in YFU has been like very successful, so to say, or there's been a lot of positive things, but could you like nitpick some of the things you're proudest of?
I have been interviewed by the Korean Times. I'm on the front page with Kathy Jones, who is a previous field director out of California. Kathy and I were awarded travel opportunities with YFU year after year after year because of the work that we did. So I'm from a very, very poor family in a very, very limited opportunity background, and I have traveled the world because of YFU and the work that I've done. So,
where have you been?
I've been everywhere, man. There's a song. I've been to, by the time I leave South America, I believe that I will have visited between 20 and 22 countries. And the only ones that were vacation, you know, we went to Jamaica for vacation, Mexico, Canada, because they're our neighbors. So anything beyond that, I was in Korea when I was in the Army, but then I also went back to Korea with YFU. So outside of YFU, I would have been to 4 countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned now that you're in South America. So how did you end up here in Argentina?
There's this really cool guy named Diego.
Oh,
and
sounds familiar.
I've known this guy for probably, well, it's 2014.
Yeah.
Back when I had the home office in Ohio, I had 6 years that I was able to have interns come and work with me in my home office. And the first 4 were from Germany, and then the last 2 were from Argentina. And so Diego and I have been in contact all of those years. Antonella, who sent the first message, I'm sleeping on her couch while I'm in Buenos Aires. She's my girl. She was my first Argentinian intern. She came in 2014. And then her friend Rocio came in 2015. So when life was changing for me in January, and Diego had posted the usual, hey, we're looking for an intern who wants to come to Argentina and be an intern, and I thought, So I messaged and I said, when do you need them to be there? And he said the middle of March, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to make that timeline happen. So I didn't say anything more. And then when I updated my statuses that I was leaving YFU USA, I got the cutest message that said, Jamie, come and be my intern. And so we figured out how late could I come, and that worked out. So.
And how has the experience been so far?
Exhausting. Exhausting. I think everybody should absolutely come and be an intern in any of the YFU offices that it's available, because you just get to meet such good people. And I have fallen in love with the people here. The country is beautiful in so many different areas. I've been so fortunate, as Ceci and Stefanka and the other interns have, we get to travel so much of the country. And so right now, I've been in 7 of the provinces, and I've still got another 6 or 7 or 9 to go to.
At least.
At least, yeah. There's a whole list. When I do the school presentations, and I actually try to draw a map of Argentina, and I'm learning where the provinces are, like I'm drawing them. And the kids are just like, the teachers are like, I've not seen that much of Argentina. And I'm like, you should, because it's really great out there. So it's been a great experience. I love YFU, and I love being able to possibly help YFU Argentina get the message out in any way possible.
You are, as I mentioned in the beginning, our first intern from the USA, if I'm not mistaken. And you're also our first senior intern, we could say. Like, our interns are usually, I think the oldest one must have been like 27, 28. So it's very inspiring. I mean, well, I am in the middle between senior and junior, but for all the other senior volunteers as well, that, you know, your opportunities are never over, kind of, right? So,
absolutely.
Because we, as Jamie mentioned, we have 2 other interns who are 25 and 20, Stepanka from the Czech Republic and Ceci from Mexico. So how do you feel as an older woman, so to say older than them, being an intern? How is it like?
I love Stefanka and Ceci. I hope you're listening. I love both of those girls, and I got to spend 2 weeks with them in Mendoza during our intern training, our onboarding, and I have learned so much from both of them. Stefanka has traveled more than me, and she's 20. Like, that makes me a little salty, honestly. I'm a little jealous. And then Ceci is just incredibly intelligent, and she's done so much already in her life too. And I know that they have both, like, they've learned from me when we've talked about, you know, how to best do this or what could we do there. And all 3 of us together, we've just shared a lot. We have I think I'm in like 20 WhatsApp groups here. I've never had so much WhatsApp communication ever. I've had WhatsApp longer than most people from the U.S. because of YFU, but I've just never had so much group chat going on. And so the girls and I are in a group chat separately that we just check in with each other every now and then, and they're doing great things too. So I think that this is, the 3 of us we've benefited from it, and I think that we hopefully are benefiting to the program.
Yeah, definitely. This has been a great experience for us so far with you. The 3 of you are amazing. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. And I wanted to ask you, based on your experience so far here in Argentina, if you could tell us one thing that you think YFU USA could learn from us, and one thing that we could learn from you in YFU USA.
One of the things that immediately jumps out to me that's very, very different here is, and I don't know how you're doing it, and I don't know why people do it, but the majority of the volunteers that I've met in those 7 provinces, they don't have a YFU history. And in the U.S., it's almost 100%. Like, we're in the 90% easily, that the people who volunteer with YFU came on as host families. They came on as alumni. They sent their kids on program. You know, a lot of my outbound families volunteered after their student signed up, after their child came home. Almost everybody in YFU as a volunteer, already has a YFU story before being a volunteer. In Argentina, it just seems to be that people find this to be an interesting thing, and oh, this sounds really cool, and I think that there's more international interest in Argentina than in the U.S. just as a culture. So I don't know how we can like shift that and help Argentina to create more volunteers from the people who have the experiences, and then help the U.S. try to find people who are just genuinely interested in international culture with teenagers without having that YFU story behind them.
Thank you, Jamie. Do you have any questions, Clary or Fer? Or do we have any comments from our social media?
Yes, we have.
Our director, Luis Pardo, is watching, so thank you, Luis. And nothing else.
I have some on YouTube. Which one was the last one? So Gustavo is making a question.
Gustavo, who was one of the leaders of the boarding school for the
Yes.
interns.
Which one was your spot moment, and in which delegation here in Argentina?
The highlight?
Why do you
Yeah,
ask
highlight.
me that? Because now
I don't know.
somebody's going to be sad, Gus. Somebody's going to be sad. I truly have enjoyed meeting everybody in every delegation. There's nobody that didn't feel like YFU in all of the delegations. I think that I was probably the most impactful in Santa Fe. We've talked about that a lot here in the office. And then I had probably the most fun in Catamarca. So those
Nice.
two.
One anecdote in particular that you would like to, in general, of your own experience so far?
Yeah.
In Catamarca, Walfin,
Walfin, yeah.
Walfin. Walfin is a very small town outside of Berlin, which is a smaller town outside of the capital. And I went to do a school presentation at Walfin, and the town is best known for a winery in town. And for the first time in my life ever, I walked into the school and they had a wine bar set up just for me. They had 6 bottles of wine set up for me to do a wine tasting. And so that was pretty fun to drink at school. Like,
Lucky girl.
it was all for me. And I tried to get the teachers to drink with me, and they're like, no, we can't. And I'm like, okay. So that was fun. And then just outside of that area was a much, much smaller community that I don't remember the name of. And they grow walnut trees a lot, and they use that in their economy locally. And I left that school with 7 kilograms of walnuts. They gave me, like, there was a bag this big, a bag this big, a bag this big. It was like 10 pounds.
And what do you do with all those walnuts?
Wow.
I gave them to Celeste. So
Oh, okay.
Celeste, because I couldn't travel with them. I was leaving like the next day to travel again. And
So,
so
hashtag Celeste, where are the walnuts?
Yeah, please
Exactly.
share.
The
Please
wine.
share.
yeah. I told her she could make pies for life off those walnuts. Yeah.
So-
I have more.
yeah.
Sorry, I have more comments on YouTube saying saludos a Yago, saludos desde Formosa para Paz, hermosa experiencia, vas por tu sueño Paz, te felicito Paz. Anto y Alma te mandan muchas bendiciones Paz. A lot of people saying hi to Paz.
We're
So,
going to meet them in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I have another question. How was your experience even you don't know the language?
So I was going to mention that earlier. Not only are we pretty sure that I'm the oldest, not only are we definitely sure that I'm the first from the U.S. Luis and I mentioned to Luis that I was probably the intern who has the least language, and he seemed to think maybe there had been somebody else. I don't know. I came with. Basically, I knew how to ask for the restroom, tell you that I am thirsty, I'm tired. I learned muy cansada here. That became a mantra for a while. How are you? Muy cansada. Muy cansada. So I still have very, very basic Spanish. I tell people it's like talking to a toddler because I know that I'm not putting the sentence structure together, but you'll know what I'm asking for. If I can point, if I can, I can butcher it, we're fine. I've really enjoyed visiting the English institutes. They don't get a lot of native speakers from the States, and so I really think that that's been impactful to the students, the children's students, the adult students. It's been a lot of fun for the teachers to have somebody. I'm pretty famous in the North for tongue twisters. And I can't remember how to say tongue twister in Spanish.
Trabalenguas.
Yes.
Do you want to share one with our audience right now?
Yes. So in Spanish, you guys know one with Peter Piper?
Yeah, Pedrito clavó un clavito. Yeah.
I think we all should try to say it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So Peter Piper, we did that in a few different places, but the one that people enjoyed the most was there's a tongue twister about a woodchuck. Mm-hmm. And so a woodchuck is an animal that I would describe as similar to a capybara. So it looks like a very sweet little animal. Woodchucks do not eat wood. And so when you say woodchuck, it means that they're eating the wood, but woodchucks don't eat wood. So I don't know why they're called woodchucks. But the puzzle, the riddle, is talking about how much wood would the woodchuck chuck if the woodchuck could chuck wood. So I can do it for you. You ready?
Please,
Sure,
please.
Okay. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? About as much wood as a woodchuck would chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Oh my God.
Shago, prepare yourself. You have to be able to say it after your exchange here.
Woodchucking. Woodchucking, yes.
I have one last question. I know the answer, but still, have you ever tried mate and fernet? Please answer the question.
At the same time, or
No, separately.
So
And what do you think about
the
that?
things that I have found very, very traditional, like the most common things that will now forever say Argentina to me. Antonella did bring mate when she came for her internship, so I knew that for a long time. Sadly, I do not enjoy mate. I like it better with sugar.
Oy, oy.
Because I'm a child.
Pecado.
I'm a child. So I do like it better with sugar, but I don't choose mate. And then the other thing has been alfajores. The office has heard my story. I'm so sad that I didn't understand more about alfajores when I first came, because I've traveled through all of these different provinces, and people have given me different alfajores. Javier gave me many alfajores when I was in Catamarca, and I didn't realize how different they actually were until Santa Fe. And I ate one in Santa Fe last week, and it changed my life. Like, it was so different than the other ones. And then I was like, man, I should have been, paying attention to that.
And what about the empanadas?
And empanadas.
Yeah.
I love empanadas, and I actually, if I'm walking down the street with somebody and if somebody's standing there selling an empanada, I'm going to buy one. Doesn't matter if I just ate, if I'm going to eat, I am buying that empanada because I want that person to know how much I love empanadas.
You're an empanada lover.
I am an empanada
Yeah.
lover.
Thank you.
I am.
So, Jamie, we have to wrap up this part. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you to say last words for anybody listening, and I wanted to ask you if you could maybe share a special message for older YFU volunteers who could relate to you better.
Yeah. So if you have the opportunity, if life is pretty much, it's okay to go out and try something new at any point. Everyone here has been so supportive of me. There's a lot of funny stories with me not speaking the language. I can't climb the dunes in Chile as fast as Stefanka can. Let me tell you, I almost died that day. But just do it. Like, go out and do it and travel as soon as you can. It just offers a whole new perspective. And one of the things is, I have learned very clearly, I do not introduce myself as an American because I'm in South America. So this has really helped me to be more clear about, where are you from? I'm from the United States. So that's a thing for me, just on a side note. But older volunteers, you can do so much. Just, you have to be part of the program, and the program will feed back to you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, guys.
And I don't want to skip the comment, but your earrings are beautiful.
Thank you.
So please.
In Mendoza, I got my little Argentina flag earrings. Yesterday, I was also wearing a mate cup and a tea
Very
kettle.
cool. Very cool. Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Jamie, so much for joining us. And now we're actually running out of time, so we will go very quick to our other guest, Shago and Paz. Maybe you can change seats. You can take off the headphones. So, bienvenidos, chicos. Gracias por acompañarnos. You can sit there and you can move the mic when you are talking. So, can you... Yeah, you can... Jamie, you can sit there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Technical details.
Yeah.
So, Paz, Shago, you can take turns and talking to the mic. Can you present yourselves a little bit? Where are you from? How old are you? Don't be shy.
Yeah, please.
Well, hello, I'm Paz. I'm from Santa Fe, but I've lived all my life in Salta. I'm 15 years old, and I'm going to Brazil on August.
Hi, my name is Drago. I am 18 years old. I am live Catamarca, La Merced, 60 kilometers de capital, Catamarca, Merced. Y me voy a India en agosto.
Okay.
So, how did you find out about YFU and the scholarships? ¿Cómo se enteraron de IFU y de la beca?
Well, I was looking on Google, just to know, because I was 14 years old and I still couldn't apply to any ONG, and I found out a scholarship to Thailand, and I love Thailand, but it was already closed. And then I found out the India in application, and I applied without telling to my dad, to my parents, anything. I applied, and then I told everyone in my family, and I got the third place. The same day that they said that you sent me the message saying that I got the third place, it was closing the Latin America scholarship, and so I decided to apply in the same moment. Well, and I got.
Yo me enteré de IFU por los reels de Instagram y bueno, tuve la primera presentación en el Poncho. Ahí los conocí y luego apliqué para la beca Marta Vigliani.
And how did you guys feel when you got the scholarships? ¿Cómo se sintieron cuando se enteraron de que ganaron la beca?
I am very happy. Estaba muy feliz, pero a la misma vez eran una mezcla de emociones, sentimientos muy raros, jamás antes encontrados, pero estaba muy feliz porque se me había dado la oportunidad entre tantos chicos.
Well, on the first moment, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, and I thought that my parents were joking at me. But, well, then I realized that it was true, and when I finally, got the emotions, was like some weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think, that I say, oh my God, I'm going to Brazil in 2 months. Then I've been really anxious, but I'm really happy about it because I've always wanted this.
How do you feel now? When are you going to Brazil?
On August.
And you, when are you going to India? Sorry? ¿Cuándo vas a India?
En agosto, bro.
In August?
In August.
And how do you feel when it's like almost less than 2 months for you to go to your countries? How do you feel now?
I'm really nervous. I mean, I'm happy, but I'm nervous about what is going to happen and how it's going to be.
And you, Iago, ¿cómo te sentís when it's only 2 months left for your trip? ¿Cómo te
Sí.
sentís ahora que faltan menos de 2 meses?
La realidad es que dije agosto, pero es julio.
Ah,
Otro
okay.
mes.
So it's 1 month.
So it's
sorry.
already maybe next week.
Nada, lo primero es que estoy muy nervioso y tengo mucha ansiedad por detrás de tanto porque ya falta menos de un mes para el viaje, así que muy nervioso.
And just one last question. If you can leave one message to other kids who are thinking of applying to a scholarship, what will you say to them? Un mensaje para otros chicos que por ahí escuchen esto y están pensando en postularse a una beca.
Well, don't be scared because it's a really good experience. I still haven't traveled, and I've already know a lot of amazing people, and I've experienced a lot of different emotions, and well, it's a new experience and it's going to be really good for your lives, I think.
¿Vos, Yago, algún mensaje para los que estén pensando en postularse a una beca o a ir a un intercambio en general?
Mi mensaje sería que a pesar de que tengan todo en contra por ahí, que son como yo, que capaz por ahí son muy del interior, se animen a dar el siguiente paso porque no es un impedimento y las oportunidades las tienen todos. Las oportunidades están para todos y creo que esta organización representa todo eso y muchísimo más, así que nada, animarlos a que den el siguiente paso los que quieren.
And you both already have your host families, as far as I know. You're the lucky ones because not I think it's less than half of the students that have their host families. So you're already placed. Can you tell us a little bit where you're placed? Where are you going to do your exchange year? Are you already in contact with your host families? Los dos ya tienen sus familias, ya están en contacto. ¿Nos pueden contar un poquito dónde van a ir si ya están en contacto con sus familias?
Well, I'm going to Aracaju.
Where is that?
The northwest from Brazil. I'm already talking messaging with my host family. They don't speak English nor Spanish, so we have to talk in Portuguese. It's really difficult because I've just started learning, but we are trying to communicate and it's going well.
And you, Iago? ¿Vos ya estás ubicado?
Yes. My family is Amristar. No Spanish, just English. Estoy a 20 kilómetros de Delhi, que sería la parte norte de la India.
Mm-hmm. So, we will invite you to join us next year again when you come back from your exchange years and you tell us how was your experience. Jamie.
I'm curious if the kids and your parents, do you feel like YFU has been very supportive? Like, do you feel like you're prepared for what you're going to do?
¿Se sienten preparados? ¿Sienten que IFU los está apoyando o preparando?
Well, I think that you're really supportive, especially Segundo. He's not here, but he have always been talking to me and saying, "Hey, Paz, you need something? Do you need to talk? Do you need for me to help you?" And anything, everything, always.
That's our album coordinator, so cheers to him. And I know that the volunteers in Catamarca are also very supportive. I've seen you very active with the volunteers there, so I can imagine they're very helpful. Son los
Celeste acabó de mandar un mensaje, puso bien, Yaguito, qué orgullo.
¿Vos
Saludos
cómo
para allá.
estás bien con los voluntarios de Catamarca?
Yes. Yo formo parte de los voluntarios desde hace 2 años ya. Ahora el 10 de julio se cumple 2 años desde que soy voluntario. Y sí, re bien con los voluntarios. Siempre estamos cumpliendo con las actividades y todo lo que conlleva.
So that's a really nice example that you can be a volunteer when you're underage and then you can even apply to a scholarship while you still can. We have many volunteers who have done that and actually won the scholarship afterwards. So that's a great example. Thank you, Iago.
Thank you.
And this weekend they are going to be part of the pre-departure orientation, so you will have already like a different view of what you are going to feel and the emotion and more skills and more keys to go to your exchange.
And also meet other people that also would be on exchange to other countries. So yeah, you will for sure you will have some friends after this weekend.
And Iago, you are the first Argentinian and the first Latin American with YFU to go to India. So you're going to be landmark for the continent.
Yes.
So congratulations for wanting to do this.
We also have another question for Iago. Iván Estepaniuk dice, India se habla en muchos idiomas. ¿Qué expectativas tienes sobre eso? There are many language talking in India. What are your expectations about it?
Ok, la realidad es muy complejo, si es cierto eso, se habla en muchos idiomas. Tengo entendido que inglés medio flojo en India, pero bueno, mi familia sé que ya tuvo contacto, sé que enviaron a varios chicos con los programas de YFU, así que nada, creo que va a ser una experiencia nueva para mí y lo tomo como un desafío también.
Hermoso, gracias.
Bueno, chicos, muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you next year for sure, and good luck in your pre-departure orientation this weekend.
Muchas gracias y gracias a ustedes.
No, gracias.
Thank you.
And now we go to our last sections of the YFU radio. First, we're going to talk about what's next. What's coming next? So, Clary, can you share a little bit of some of the YFU news? What's upcoming?
Yes, so we are going to talk about who are going to be the new internships. There is another 2 new internships coming. There is Nicolas coming from Belgium. And there is Kim, who actually she already did an exchange in Argentina. So she's coming back, and it's super nice because she already has a host family, but now she's going to have another point of view being part of YFU Argentina.
So Nicolas will actually be joining us in our next episode next week. La semana que viene nuestro nuevo pasante Nicolas, que es el primer belga que recibimos, nos va a acompañar en la radio, así que lo veremos ahí. ¿Y qué otras novedades tenemos? What else is new, Fer?
Yeah, at the end of June, the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th, we'll have a color glasses training here in our office here in Buenos Aires. We will be focused on Buenos Aires and the center of the country, and probably some other provinces. We're still like working on it. But yeah, that's what will happen at the end of June. Yeah.
And then we also have our interns, our current interns who are continuing their trips. Jamie is going to Rio Grande tonight. Ceci is going to Bariloche next week, and then to Caleta Olivia. And as Fernando says, Tepanca will be in Misiones.
And then she will end this.
And then she will end. Yeah, maybe I don't know if we will be able to get her in the radio before she leaves, and she can share a little bit with us about her experiences. Oh, and then yeah, we already said that the scholarship is still open until Monday, I guess. So last opportunities to share the call with people who might be interested.
And for last, we also are going to have a virtual training on 22. So, Fer, if you want to talk more about it.
Yeah, we'll have this Zoom meeting with our special guest, Jamie, who will talk about a little bit his experience. Also, she will give us some tips about recruitment. And also, as an office, we have some news to share to us. So please be prepared. Keep your appointment and be free at that time. We'll be at 7 p.m. On Sunday 22. Yeah.
And then next week also, it's the last days of our exchange students right now who are going back to their countries. So we will have a lot of logistics activities here in Buenos Aires, picking up the students from the airports, bus stations, bringing them here and there. So we have over 20 volunteers here in Buenos Aires hosting them, going with them for lunch, for dinner, staying them in the hotel, etc. So we want to thank all the Buenos Aires volunteers for all that, and of course all the volunteers in all over the country who are helping the students depart, doing their goodbye parties, their end of year orientations. So cheers to all of our students to enjoy their last few days here. And then also I lost, but I think on Tuesday or Wednesday we have the short-term students arriving. There are 3 of them going to Mendoza to do an intensive Spanish course for 2 months. So also we wish them a nice experience, and also good luck to everyone in Mendoza with them, and congratulations for finding their host families and everything.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. We have some older comments in YouTube from a lot of people. Say hi to Paz. Genial, Paz. Sos nuestro orgullo. Te amamos. Congrats, Paz, on representing Salta. Abrazos. So proud of you. Hermosa Paz, te amo.
And Instagram, do we have any comments?
Tremendo, dice Iván Estepaniuk. Muchas gracias a todos los que nos están viendo desde otros países, otras provincias.
Yes. So, thank you everybody for joining us. Next week we will have, as we said, Nicolas, our new intern, and probably some of the exchange students as well that did their experience here. And we have 2 of them who are leaving a little bit later, so we will see if we can have them next week. So join us next week. Los invitamos la semana que viene para la tercera emisión de la radio IFU de esta nueva temporada. Y muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Thank you everybody. Thank you to our guest, Jamie, Shago, and Paz. And or my co-hosts, Clary and Fer.
And la productora.
Oh, yes, and our producer behind the scenes, Adita. Thank you, Adita, for everything. And everyone who joined us and watched us, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
Gracias.